A new year brings a new beginning.
Oh my god, Leandra, you're pregnant too?
What? No. Are you?
No. But I do like making deliveries, which brings me to one of my favorite subjects, FedEx Office. If you're just starting or have been running your company for generations, FedEx Office can give you the best way to print marketing materials, posters, signage, graphics, and so much more.
With FedEx, creating, editing, saving, and ordering are fast and easy. We're teaming up with FedEx and Podgo to bring our listeners 30% off of their next order of $100 or more at podgo.co/FedEx.
That's podgo.co/FedEx for 30% off your next order.
FedEx,
FedEx, the
the
world
world
on
on time.
time. I wish I was on time, am I right?
You're never on time. Be more like FedEx. Rocky Horror Minute is rated R. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is also rated R. We're going to spend this time discussing the movie in gory detail, and along the road we will talk about some adult content and use some of our favorite swear words.
Great tit, imperial shag, blue-footed booby.
Consider yourselves warned. Welcome to Rocky Horror Minute, the podcast where we break down the Rocky Horror Picture Show in excruciating detail, 1 minute at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Leandra.
And I'm your other host, Kelly.
And joining us again is Jamie Anderson. She is an archaeologist and one of the hosts of Radio Clash Revival, available on SoundCloud.
I'm excited to talk about how not hot I find Rocky some more.
There is plenty of discussion to be had on that.
So what happens in this minute, Kelly?
So we are now in minute 38 of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And in this minute, it begins with Rocky saying, start of a pretty big downer. He comes down off that chandelier and it starts to get his bandages cut off of him by Magenta and Columbia. They cut off his arms and then his legs. And he then starts to... He's kind of trying to get away from Frank, who is leering over his shoulder while all this happens. So Columbia takes one end of the bandage and he just starts spinning. And then he runs up onto the catwalk where the Transylvanians are. And that's pretty much where the physicality of the minute ends. So the lyrics we hear while all this is happening is he says, I'm at the start of a pretty big downer. I woke up this morning with a start when I fell out of bed, and left from my dreaming was a feeling of unnameable dread. My high is low. I'm dressed up with no place to go, and all I know is I'm at the start of a pretty big downer. Frank goes, "Oh, Rocky!" Then the Transylvanians are singing, "That ain't no crime. That ain't no crime, shalala, that ain't no crime." In between, there's a lot of oh no, no, no's while he's spinning, and then later in the song as well. And he starts singing again as he goes up and appealing to the Transylvanians. He says that the sword of Damocles is hanging over my head, and I've got the feeling someone's going to be cutting the thread. And left from my dreaming was a feeling of unnameable dread. This is really a tongue twister.
That's not a true statement.
A lyric.
It's simply not true.
What?
When he's up there, he goes, the sword of Damocles is hanging over my head. And I've got the feeling someone's gonna be cutting the thread. Oh, woe is me. My life is a mystery.
That is true. Although it stops at oh, woe is me in this minute. But, alright, well then the lyrics I'm looking at are wrong.
They are crackhead lyrics.
Alright.
Read by a crackhead. Listened to by another crackhead.
Well, I mean, I am just reading them off of the lyrics, but yeah. Alright.
One thing that I didn't bring up the last time, and I know that this was something that I didn't really know about until I've rediscovered Greek mythology. What is the myth of the Sword of Damocles?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking somebody. I also have the answer, but I don't want to be that smug bitch.
I don't remember the exact details, but it's that there's like a sword that's hanging by a thread, as they say in the song, over a king or something like that.
Yeah.
And if he messes up his leadership, it'll fall on his head. Is that right?
That is
Yeah.
definitely the gist of it.
Okay.
Damocles was one of King Dionysus's subjects and praised King Dionysus for having all of these riches. The king offered to let Damocles switch places with him for a day, which of course he jumped at the opportunity to do. And then the next day, Damocles sits on the throne surrounded by the wealth and material possessions, but he can't really focus on that because Dionysus has rigged a sword hanging by a literal single thread of horsehair by the pommel right above the throne, and he did this to give Damocles a sense of the constant threat of somebody killing him for his kingdom and his gold. So that is what this infant is singing about.
I mean, I don't really think it's fair to actually attribute like infant. I although he was obviously just born, I don't tend to take the stance that Rocky is like of the mental capacity of an infant.
He does have kind of an underdeveloped sense of whether or not he can talk or should talk or can sing and should sing, because he does some of those when he shouldn't, and he doesn't do some of those when he should. So,
well, he's like, Frankenstein's monster in the original Frankenstein, where he's sort of like becoming accustomed to human life, I guess you could say. Like he has the body of a fully grown person, but his socialization is poor.
aw, that's me. Seriously, I'm going to get out of this pandemic and go, people? What do I do with these people in close proximity? I'm just going to look at them and hiss.
Grunt at inappropriate times. Cut your hair with a bowl.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that what all the kids are doing in the pandemic? They're cutting their hair. Getting on the TikToks.
Oh, yeah.
Or I guess starting podcasts.
Yeah.
That's another one. Yeah. I did the classic shaved one side of my head.
Nice. We both got pretty severe haircuts, both of us.
There is kind of this weird fringe theory in the Rocky community of why Rocky's able to sing and why he's singing about Greek mythology. And it is, I'm not sure that I agree with it. I do find it incredibly crunchy and enjoyable to hear this theory because it's very thorough. And I've recently had to write it all back up to explain this. So Rocky's singing about how he thinks he's in grave danger and at any point he could be murdered, which is kind of a weird thing for a newborn to say. So the theory is that and you have to use some suspension of disbelief for all of this. I mean, it is a musical about aliens. So it's a super niche, human, somewhat deep reference, this sort of Damocles thing. And it's because he has half of Eddie's brain.
That's what I was going to guess.
Yeah. So we only see Eddie alive in one song, and the lyrics are so fast that they're practically fast forwarded. And you discover that Eddie has gone through surgery and had half of his brain removed. So those actions actually make sense for him. He wakes up and he's able to go through a bunch of kind of coarse motor functions and reference a memory, but he isn't able to create new memories or kind of verbally react to the things around him. So then kind of on the flip side is Rocky, who wakes up and kind of continues the final thought that Eddie was having before he got murdered. And it's that Eddie, who is a super secret Greek myth buff,
was looked like one.
I mean, yeah. Still waters run deep. but he's going, oh my god, I'm about to get murdered. And that's exactly like the sword of Damocles hanging over my head. So then Frank kills Eddie, spoiler alert, kids, and then puts half of his brain into Rocky's body. And it just is kind of like pressing play on a VHS. And the VHS is already kind of busted. So Rocky is kind of completing that thought for Eddie, and then runs out of an ability to use any fine motor functions. And that is what some people in the Rocky community believe is absolutely 100% what's going on. Maybe.
I'm in. I'm a half of Eddie's brain truther.
I am not. I do not like that theory much, but I do understand. See, honestly, the Sword of Damocles myth doesn't even really make any sense to apply to Eddie.
Well, so we have proof that he sent a letter to his uncle that said, "Oh, hurry, or I may be dead."
Right, but what does that have to do with Sword of Damocles besides potentially dying?
Well, he's got this looming sense of fear and foreboding, like a sword over his head, or a gigantic dick about to fall onto his head.
Okay. I mean, when you make it a dick, it makes a little more sense. But when it's a sword, just like
a sword is very phallic.
It is.
Okay. However, the connection to the Sword of Damocles myth, I would say, is tenuous. That isn't just like a literary example of somebody about to die. You know,
that is true.
It's a more specific thing.
What if it's his position as the Doctor's lover? Is like the throne that you're inheriting.
Okay.
Yeah, he's about to get thrown off like an old overcoat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm into it.
I mean, I do think it's fun to theorize. Do I think that's necessarily the intent? Not so much, but I do like it as a fun like crack theory.
That actually like really helped me understand it better, because I was like, this is such a fucking weird song. Like, why is this here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it could just be a weird song is my thought. But that is actually what, and shout out to Ren who wrote in with that question. That was sort of what they were saying is like, why any of this? Why is this here? Can you explain it? And we were like, no, but here are some theories.
But as far as conspiracy theories go, that one's at least crunchy. It kind of feels nice to discuss. It's certainly, I think, as plausible as, for instance, one of the Transylvanians in real life being a serial killer. I mean, what?
Okay, well, then where did all of those guests go, Leandra?
I mean, you got me there.
Yep.
And they were never seen again, not in any movies.
Jamie, I wouldn't worry about any of what you're hearing right now.
I don't know why you'd tell me not to be worried. I wasn't worried till you said that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stress.
Continue to not be. So, speaking of crack theories, we see some crack in this minute.
Do we?
Briefly. A little bit, yeah. His shorts are hanging off his ass.
Oh. I noticed that too.
Yeah. So, that's all I wanted to say about his ass, is that you see it.
Probably got a nice voluptuous bubble.
Unless I'm missing something, it's like the most nudity you see in the movie. Oh wait, Columbia's tits.
I was about to say you see nipples. Yep.
Yeah, that's true. Which, yeah, I guess that counts. Well, it's the only ass you see in the movie.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I also think that's fair.
I will say that this costume piece is fairly interesting, because the more you look at it, the more you're like, why does this exist? It's not just like gold booty shorts. They also have like, it looks like belt loops all over it. There's like straps on the sides, like on the hips, and then there's like a strap right through the butt crack, and it's and there's this bedazzled R on the left hip. It's very pretty, but I don't understand what practical use these booty shorts would have.
Maybe they fit into some kind of like BDSM rig.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, just a thought.
Yeah.
Aw.
Since he, obviously the doctor made sure that he was born in these clothes.
Really adds a new meaning to birthday suit. Am I right?
God. Oh man, that's actually good. All right.
Yeah.
I want to hate you for that one, but I can't. I liked also that Brad really was like, he like takes off his glasses and he's like really trying to get a better look at everything. Like for some reason, the bandages coming off were like the moment where he was like, "What? How can this be?" So I thought that was fun. Like he chose that moment to be amazed.
Yeah.
Even though I've played Brad and even though I've played Janet, I honestly have trouble thinking of what they're actually doing for the vast majority of this song. Like the only time that I kind of immediately go, "Oh yeah, this is definitely a thing that Brad's doing," is right around the time that Rocky says my high is low. He takes his glasses and he readjusts them and then bops his head down. So it's literally his head's going from high to low. And that is essentially the only thing that I can fundamentally remember about this. Yeah, they're just standing there going, "Damn, that's crazy."
Yeah, I was really nervous the first time I went into Janet because she is on stage almost the entire show, which is I'd been playing Magenta before, so I was nervous about that. But turns out she's a lot easier to play than Magenta, in my opinion, because when Magenta's on stage, she's doing something like all the time, almost, and Janet is standing in a corner for most of it.
Yeah.
Not doing anything. One corner or the other, just standing there watching. So
that particularly struck me in this scene, is that those two spend so much of the movie just kind of gaping.
Yeah.
Which honestly, that's what I would do.
Sure.
I get here, I've walked several miles in the rain to try and get a phone, and several songs later, I still haven't gotten a phone, and now I'm not wearing the clothes that I was wearing initially. I'm wearing a lab coat, and then somebody reanimates a body, and I'm just at that point, I'm like dissociating, going, there's no chance I'm surviving this night. So
that's fair. They're definitely the are they, well, I say they're definitely, but are they meant to be stand-ins for the viewer?
Oh, I think that's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that in general, they're just kind of supposed to represent like conservative American culture type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But they definitely could also represent. I mean, they're the closest thing to the viewer,
right?
I mean, one would assume.
Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Not after this counterculture got going, but like I think the idea was they were supposed to be the closest thing to normal.
Yeah, I always take them, at least from the beginning song, I always thought of them as like stereotypical heterosexuality.
Exactly.
So, things that I wanted to kind of chat about with this. First off, the arm and leg wraps that Rocky has. They're wrapped in such a way that they're kept together with a piece of string. And the reason I know this is because I've helped people wrap themselves in this like yards and yards of fabric before. And you kind of have to almost braid it around the string so that all you have to do is pull the string for all of it to drop off. But that means that you need like 20 yards at least, and it's ridiculous. And
yeah, I dressed up as a mummy for Halloween a long time ago and then went out to a club and someone stepped on my bandages and I had to make a hasty exit.
Oh no.
Due to the integrity of my costume breaking down.
I can only imagine, like, oh, that would stress me out so much. Yay, another thing for me to be neurotic about.
Don't dress up as a mummy and go to a club. There you go.
No. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, can confirm it took an incredible amount of bandages to make this costume.
Yeah, the wraps are a lot more than you even ever think they're going to be. We even, like, for our show, we typically only do basically the torso. But I have, like, for special costumes, tried to cover my whole body, and it takes a lot more than you would think.
Yeah.
So I've seen people wrap themselves just on their own. I've seen that a couple of times, and that takes a lot of work. And it takes a lot of like laying down and just kind of trying to wrap things around a string that you have kind of wrapped around your middle finger, and you hold it down with your chin at your shoulder. And I've seen one person who can consistently do that on their own. And then there's Oscar, who's been on the show before, rest in peace, and he's also, I think, my favorite Rocky ever, and often I've seen him try to do all of the wraps, and what happens is I'll walk in on him backstage, and he's just laying on the ground with his back on the floor, half wrapped, and he goes, "Leandra, can you help?" And one thing that I did notice about the wraps is they're covering the boots as well. And I'm trying to figure out how on earth we're supposed to kind of get them off of the shoes and get them unwrapped from the feet before Rocky starts spinning. And it wasn't until I was watching it today, just to kind of refresh my memory, that I went like, wait a second, that's bullshit. How's that supposed to work?
And now for a commercial break.
Hi, I'm Aaron.
I'm John.
And I'm Nikki. We host Rocky Talkie Podcast, a weekly program where we talk about worldwide Rocky Horror related news and current events from the shadowcasting community.
We cover big global news stories about the movie, the play, the actors, and the shadowcasters.
We also fill you in on all the cool Rocky related projects that individual casts and shadowcasters are working on.
We learn a lot about the history of the movie and the community. It's a good time. We just did an episode all about the pornos. Ooh.
If you want to learn more about Rocky in the news and catch up on what's going on with other community members, visit our website, rockytalkiepodcast.com.
And if you've got some news to share, send us an email at rockytalkiepodcast@gmail.com.
Our episodes drop Thursdays on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. So come check us out and visit us on all social media at Rocky Talkie Podcast.
We'll see you next Thursday. Snoogans.
You said see you next Thursday.
I don't remember his boots. Now I gotta look up a picture.
His boots are fun. They're these gold wrestling boots. And you can still get them custom made, but they're just kind of a normal kind of I'm trying to think of the word, the Mexican wrestlers with the masks,
Luchadors.
Luchadors. Yeah, it's like luchador boots, and they're just gold.
Huh. Honestly, even like
I see
current
that.
Professional wrestlers wear boots like that. My favorite wrestler and one of my most gigantic celebrity crushes, Charlotte Flair, wears almost identical ones when she wears gold, like literally almost identical. So it's now my dream to play Rocky dressed as Charlotte Flair one day in gold with a long blonde wig.
Oh, I love that.
I like that.
I'm beyond obsessed with her. Unfortunately, it would be like hard to get the costume together because it would be more of like a gold bustier and then some little shorts. Beyond that, it's not that bad. It would just be basically the same shoes I always wear and some like gold leg warmers, but yeah. Anyway,
so I know that we don't talk a whole lot about shadow casting on this. We do talk about callbacks, but the costume that I put together for Rocky, because I am perhaps not a muscle-bound man, at least from
not
what...
yet.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm also not a weakling weighing 98 pounds.
No.
So I'd say I'm somewhere in between. No. Sure, why not? But it's not... I would not say that I have the same body type as Peter Hinwood. And normally I'm all about like trying to represent exactly what goes on the screen. And with this, it is just, for me, I think, very much an unplausible thing. So I normally dress up in a gold corset and a fairly long gold skirt that I made and gold go-go boots. And I have this blonde wig with pigtails, and I just wander around with this like dead-eyed smile. And it delights me, and it seems to get a fun reaction from the audience. So do with that what you will.
I like that. It's a good interpretation.
Yeah, it's... I don't think that I can very accurately convey the emotional range of Peter Hinwood in this. So I do the next best thing. I make it my own.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll go with that. Another thing, just kind of going back into the movie, where do the scissors come from that Columbia and Magenta use?
Well, I can tell you where they would come from if it were me.
Where would they come from if it were you?
My bra.
Oh, I'd hate
What?
that.
Oh, yeah.
I'd stab myself in the tit.
No. You put them point up.
Oh, so then if I fall, it goes right into my neck.
I don't think that far ahead. Even though I should, because I fall a lot. But I would totally, yeah, that's definitely where I would put them.
My guess is that because we don't see them come out of anywhere, and the next time we see Columbia and Magenta, they've switched sides of the tank.
Thank you for that.
And B, you see them walking forward with scissors. I think that this is... I don't know if I'd say that this is a continuity issue, the fact that they switched sides, although I'm willing to blame Sue Mary for that. She's the potted plant that they used for continuity for Rocky Horror. So
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
it's not terribly likely that she's real, but she certainly is credited as such. So
I
those
just
scissors come from
assumed
somewhere.
that they had like laboratory equipment somewhere off screen.
That's fair. Yeah, and I know that Columbia, she's got pockets in her incredibly tight shorts, but I think that we would have seen by now if she had scissors.
Yeah.
So that's one of life's mysteries. And the aprons don't have pockets in the film as far as I can see. So who knows? I do like that Magenta cleans up all of the wraps as Rocky is getting spun out of the final pieces of the wraps. Mm-hmm. She's just on the ground kind of gathering them, going like, don't fucking trip on these. Which is always the thing that I fear the most, that we're going to see Rocky spin out and just like fall flat on their head and blood's everywhere. And then I go, oh, well, that's a show, guys.
Cleaning up slippery props felt very like this used to be a stage show to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very practical.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing that Rocky does in this is, on All Dressed Up with No Place to Go, he kind of jumps. He kind of moves out of the way, and I had no idea why he was doing this. I truly just, there was nothing that I could gather would be the reason. So because I played Magenta, I assumed that they'd like pulled a leg hair or something off of Rocky as they're trying to like take the wraps off or something. I used to like smack a butt or two at that time. And it wasn't until I got into playing Rocky that I realized that Frankenfurter just like kisses him on the shoulder, and that's why he goes, oh, I fucking hated that.
Ah, interesting.
So I don't know if that is something, Kelly, that you had noticed before.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely because I play Rocky. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not always the most on top of the little nuances, at least when I'm relaying how I used to watch the film as a child.
That also is how it's a cue for me when I'm playing Magenta to know when to pull like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is one of the few moments in this song that really stand out to me, I guess.
What does your Rocky costume look like?
Right now, I wear a blonde wig. I do wear a gold corset rather than... I mean, some Rockies, regardless of gender, will just be as topless as our theater allows, depending on their gender. But I do wear a gold corset because I think it's a little more fun than just wearing, like, pasties or a flesh-colored sports bra with my swinging breasts down to my knees. And then gold shorts, fairly screen accurate dance shoes that have seen better days at this point. But yeah, like Leandra does more fun stuff with it, and I would like to do that too, but that's sort of your standard.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was actually telling Jamie in between minutes about how I put together my Rocky costume. It was because I had mono and had said, you know what, it's not really smart for me to play any roles this month. I'm gonna take the time off. And then the person who was cast as Rocky called out for the weekend. So I went, okay, that's fine. So I Ubered over to a Joann's Fabrics and got a bunch of gold fabric and sewed together a costume and played Rocky for the first time, and the rest is history.
Yeah. I do like to do a lot of extra gold makeup too. I guess that's the one really fun thing I do with it right now. Is I do like a full face with lots of gold.
Nice.
And we've got a bunch of people who do a lot of glitter with their makeup. Occasionally, I sucker somebody in to play Rocky for me, who isn't typically on the cast, and he has a full beard, and he'll often do a glitter beard.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very fun.
I like that.
Yeah. For me, I don't know. I think you agree with this, Leandra. For me, the big unifying factor with a Rocky costume is the use of gold, and the rest of it's kind of whatever. And blonde hair, but even like we have lots of people on cast who will play it without any kind of wig on or anything who aren't blonde, and I think that's fine.
Of the deviations from the accurate costuming, I think not having blonde hair is one of the things that irritates me slightly more, just because it's referenced in a song.
Well, that's true.
And that's really the major thing for me that makes me go, oh, it would be swell if you had blonde hair. But I won't like tell somebody who's not getting paid to do this that they're a garbage person and a monster if they don't. So
no, but you will say it on your podcast,
right? And you will believe it.
Only with my heart. I have
always worn blonde hair.
I know.
I actually like to try and do the best I can with costumes, unless I'm making a deliberate choice, like with the corset or something. But yeah.
How many wigs do each of you guys own?
Oh God. For me, it's probably only like 10.
Wow.
Wow. They're not all for Rocky, but almost all of them are.
I have a bit of a problem. I've been doing Rocky for long enough that like sometimes I'll just be at the store and go, oh, that's a pretty good version of this thing. I should pick it up, just in case. So that generally means that I'm picking up like costume pieces at the thrift store that I'm like, I mean, I don't need this now, but what if I do? And sometimes I'll be at like a party store the week after Halloween and I'll go, oh, this wig isn't bad and it's on sale. I should take that. Or I also MC our show and I like doing weird stuff with my hair for that. So I have lots and lots of wigs ranging in price from like $15 to $250. And it is a problem. There's too many. There are three many. I don't know how many there are, but it's more than I should have.
How do you store all these wigs?
Well, the expensive ones I actually take great pains to store. There are a couple that are like highly styled. At the end of Rocky Horror, Magenta has this kind of Bride of Frankenstein font thing.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of iterations of that. And even though I've replaced my wig with a better one, a more expensive one, I still very carefully pack the other one and just make sure that it's like in a very large wig box and nothing's on top of it, even though it has a lid, because I don't want it to get crushed. And the cheap wigs, they go right back in the bag that I got them from. And I go, if this falls apart, I'll buy a new one.
Excellent.
I only have one final thing to talk about before we get into callbacks. So, Kelly, do you have anything else?
Just one thing. Well, I guess two. I wanted to highlight Frank falling off of Riff's shoulders in addition to his facial expressions. I just love Frankenfurter in this minute. The next minute is even better, but he's just so great in this. And those are fun, extra silly moments that I love. And then and I just want to say we get a wonderful shot of Pam Obermeyer's makeup in this minute if you pause. Probably the only, because she takes off her sunglasses, it's probably one of the only really good ones, and her makeup is killer. It's like blue and then gold above that, and she's blocked out her eyebrows and drawn them on really high, so it's great.
Speaking of Transylvanians, my favorite bit of Transylvanian acting in the entire film is right at the end of this minute and the beginning of the next minute. It's Stephen Calcutt. He's the tallest of the Transylvanians. He's got kind of long, looks almost greasy brown hair, and he's towering over everybody else. And he's in the scene, like a little bit behind Rocky, and Rocky's pleading with people, and he is just serving so many looks, and he's bopping around like a goddamn nerd, and it makes me so happy for reasons that I don't quite understand. But he's very much into this, going, oh, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And it's just some great acting. I love him to bits and pieces in this. And I'll be talking, I'm sure, about Stephen Calcutt and his bopping around again, because he does it a couple more times in this minute, not in this minute, in this scene. But those are all of my notes for that. So just digging on into callbacks.
Right. So I only have two.
Oh.
So they're both to be sung with the song. First is you sing during I'm at the start of a pretty big downer. The callback is I am the star of a pretty bad movie. And then when he says my high is low, you go, my low is high. And that's what I got.
It's a nice one.
Yeah. Classique.
I was looking at what other casts do and kind of some of the regional ones, and this is kind of a minute that is somewhat light on callbacks. I attribute that to people wanting to check out whoever's playing Rocky. Like, this is the first time that you get to see who that is, so that's why there's a little bit less going on that people are screaming. But there's still some. So I'm at the start of a pretty big downer. You can say boner instead of downer, because dicks are funny.
Yes.
That's true.
Like, yeah. I mean, that checks out. Yeah. So there's also, I woke up this morning and I got myself a beer. So if you're a Doors fan, that's the one that I just kind of stick to. And I can't hear this song without saying that, and I can't hear the Doors song without saying that. Without thinking that, rather. So they're very much tied for me. And we talked about this last minute, but this is a good time to go speed lightning, go speed lightning.
Grease lightning?
That's what I meant. Dan, please save me from my own idiocracy. What I meant to
my
say...
favorite musical, Speed.
Oh,
Sandra
no.
Bullock is great in that.
Yeah.
Oh no, it is I who is the stupid one. No.
Yeah.
I
think we've known it all along. Yeah.
I think that what really hurts is Kelly and I share our notes, and she clearly would have seen that and gone, I could correct that. But I won't.
Honestly, I swear to God, I saw it and I thought, she must be not talking about a Grease related. This must be something else that will become clear to me when she sings it. But no.
No, I'm just not. I'm not quite what I would consider intelligent all the time.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
No one is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just talent.
I'm just talent.
Yeah. Is
chicken of the sea chicken or tuna? For those of you who are listening who are too young to get that reference, please go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Luckily, I am not too young.
Well, thank you.
Jessica Simpson is one of those celebrities who, was not. Was that Jessica Simpson?
Or was she
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't remember because then I was second guessing myself if that was a Paris Hilton quote. But anyway, Paris Hilton was totally turning it on, but Jessica Simpson, I'm not so sure.
I love Paris Hilton.
No, I love her too. And I'm not trying to start beef with Jessica Simpson, although
we're feuding with Jessica Simpson now. Okay.
For our podcast, if Jessica Simpson tweeted "fuck Rocky Horror Minute" or something.
Those bitches.
She's got to come on here now. She's got to fight you guys on the show.
Rap battle?
Jessica would be actually very interesting casting for Rocky.
Oh my god, absolutely.
Mostly with being blonde and dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the final callback that I found was after my high is low, I'm dressed up with no place to go. You can say I'm fucked up with no one to blow.
Oh.
Which I think is a bit of a stretch, but I'm into it. It's fine. Just stretch. It's good. But that's all I have.
All right. Well then, let's sign off.
Okay, we'll do that the same way that we end all of our shows, with all of us going, now. You don't have to go home.
But you can't stay here.
Get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out.